things I've done my entire life which turned out to be autism and not quirks. I got diagnosed as an adult, and although I would say I knew from about the age of 18, it never was on my radar to go and get diagnosed. Only really when one of my kids was going through diagnosis that I thought I would do the same, out of solidarity really. Also, they gave me a questionnaire to fill out. The psychologist pointed out that I had a 10 out of 10 score, so it was looking very likely. I'm so glad that I did it, and I feel like a burden was lifted from me because I had very low self-esteem most of my life, and I think a lot of that came from never really knowing which box I fit in. I am very type A in a lot of ways, but I can be incredibly chaotic. I was a fastidious rule follower, and yet if I saw something that I found unjust or unfair, I was prepared and willing to get violent, which makes no sense to the outside world or your teachers. I would often overthink every social interaction that I would have, which made friendships very difficult because I always thought that that person secretly hated me, or that I had upset that person when probably they weren't even thinking about what I'd said at all. I found it very difficult to follow instructions, even simple ones. I still don't know really how to put my dishwasher on the right setting. I can't get the 4-button sequence down, which makes people say things like, "You're a clever girl. You know you should do this. You know how to do this." And you internalise and you think that, oh my God, they think I'm clever, but actually I'm stupid. Women have this kind of reputation that we have to be organised, we have to remember certain dates, and we have to do certain things and tick saying, I'm not a woman like that. It makes me look bad, like a bad woman. That was particularly hard when I became a mum. Sometimes I don't say bye, and that comes off as rude. I don't know how to deal with small talk. I would rather avoid that altogether. If I did something wrong, but I didn't mean to do it wrong, I forgot to put the bins out, and then that person said, "Why didn't you put the bins out?" In my head, I heard, "You are the most useless person, you didn't put the bins out, and therefore you're evil." I would see other girls with their nice, neat pencil cases. I would see them as I got older with their nice, neat cars that were always kept immaculate. And I would look at myself and think I was a terrible girl. Mine would be battered, like a gross monster who was incapable of having nice things like these little cutesy girls that I was friends with. I hated people touching me. Say you see someone at a party and they come and give you a hug, and I would back off and get really weird, and then I'd feel weird, they'd feel weird. My mind was just constantly focused on stuff that it shouldn't. Like, for instance, when I was in school, I would just focus on getting a job. I didn't want to go to school. And so I stopped focusing on school and I started hyperfixating on work, and that is pretty much all I spoke about for years. There have been several different little interests. While you're talking about something, I'll be thinking about what the appropriate thing is to say, and sometimes it will actually prevent me from listening. There's quite literally 2 sets of dialogue happening. I used to think everybody's head was like that. Apparently it's not. Good for you guys that don't have that. Boyfriends, I think that the change up and erratic behaviour, little quirk like the cutesy being into random stuff, that made me different or interesting, became the things that were deeply annoying. Repulsed them in the end. You're not like other girls. You're a bloody weirdo. In terms of friendships, practically everything you know about social interaction is learned and not natural. Can sometimes come across as inauthentic. Inability to be wrong. Inability to decipher certain social situations. Being underhandedly mean to me, I would completely miss it, and I would rather think that somebody was being nice than not. I would always have unusual friends, and by unusual I mean my friends would say, "I just can't imagine you being friends with them. What do you even talk about when you meet up?" Normally those people were other neurodiverse people, which obviously I didn't know until later in life, and it all made sense. Those people would also be like my safe people, be the friends that I would invite round to my house, and then my friends would get offended that I would want my safe person in my house and not them. I would find it easier to be around somebody who I didn't feel the need to gap fill with conversation. I think the worst part for women that have autism is the fact that we are very good at masking. It is impossible to mask 24/7. At some point, you're going to give it away. And normally at that point, people think you are like a walking, talking Martian, and you internalise in that you are weird or unlovable or different, when you're not. The best part of being diagnosed is that I am able, as an adult, to go back into those memories and basically explain to myself why I acted a certain way in certain situations and not internalise other people's opinions of me and commentary, but now be able to say, actually, no, I wasn't the problem. I was just struggling. So yes, in short, I would highly recommend getting a diagnosis even as an adult.